What's good, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Nerd Corner. I'm Los Squid, the kid that never knows best. In today's video, I'm bringing my review for Chapter 2 of Samurai 8 because you guys showed me a lot of love and support on that last video and told me that you did, in fact, want to see me review this series on a weekly basis. And I'm really looking forward to more of it. I enjoyed the second chapter. So, you know what? I'm down. I'm gonna make it do what it do because I'm here to please you. You feel me? In a best case scenario, this series blows up. It takes off. It's really good. It's really popular. It's the next big thing in Kishimoto's legacy. And we get to talk about it week after week for years to come. We get to theorize about it, review the chapters, discuss and debate about who best girl is, you know what I'm saying, who's stronger than who the illest, who the coldest out of the crew, because you know it's gonna be a crew. It's just showing it's gotta have his own crew, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, you know what I'm saying? We gonna have a good time. So I'm actually really looking forward to the future of this series and the future of this channel with this series. So let's get into it. Chapter 2 starts off with Hachimaru actually gorging himself and stuffing his face with takoyaki and octopus. Apparently he's eating a lot of takoyaki. He ate like 8 octopus legs and like 8 octopus fritters. 8 apparently going to be an ongoing theme here, obviously, being that his name is Hachimaru and this is Samurai 8, and Hachi means 8 for those of you who may not have known in Japanese. But yeah, so he's stuffing his face, and to him this is kind of like a big deal. Like, obviously it's not out of the ordinary for your main protagonist in your shonen series, your battle adventure series or whatever, to have quite the appetite. But for him, this is actually kind of like special because he was on a liquid diet for so long, and so he hadn't been able to chew solid foods. Like, he had to drink all his food. And then even when it comes to something as small as getting a good night's rest, this is new to him because he had all those cords and cables in his back, so like he couldn't turn over. Like I assume that his only option was to sleep on his stomach, maybe on his side. But now that he's able to, you know, roll over, adjust his position, get a little more comfortable or whatever, he actually for the first time in maybe his entire life got a good night's rest. And it's even noted by Master Daruma. He's like, yo, you seem really trippy this morning. He's like, yeah, I was finally able to sleep for once in my pathetic life. And they don't really make a big deal out of this, but it's something that I read within those first few pages and I was like, oh, Hachimaru, Bible thump. But yeah, and so after getting his grub on, he decides he wants to take his dog Hayataro for a walk. Now what's interesting about Hayataro is that he underwent, you know, that miraculous transformation when Hachimaru became a samurai. So he looks completely different. He has apparently got a bunch of new abilities, but he still meows like a cat for some reason. I guess the magic of the samurai couldn't fix that, could it? And like a few pages later, Hachimaru even notes how much Hayataro has changed, but that small detail about him hasn't changed, which, I mean, I guess it adds a certain character to Hayataro, makes him unique in that sense, but it's, I don't know, it's just weird. So Hachimaru prepares to take Hayataro for a walk, which again is something like trivial, but something that he hadn't been able to do before because he was chained down by all the cords and cables in his back. So to him, this is like some big adventure, but before taking off, he, you know, he thanks Hayataro. He's like, you know, thank you for bringing me like the sword, even though it's just a model. I don't really have much use for this. I'll just let, you know, Daruma use them as walking sticks. And then Daruma goes on to say, like, what type of self-respecting samurai leaves the house without a sword? Like, living in the house without a sword might as well be, you know, leaving naked. Like, you might as well be leaving in your underwear. And he's like, you know, if I was able to cut that teacup down with it, then you should be able to carry it with you for at least self-defense. And then what happens next is kind of interesting because Hachimaru then proceeds to take the model sword and he slices through the teacup just like Daruma did in the last chapter. Now, it's not that that technique is super impressive, right? Like, obviously, it's supposed to be kind of impressive. You know, this isn't like a real sword. It's just modeled after a real sword, so it's probably got a very dull edge. But that seems like something, especially with a model sword, that Hachimaru shouldn't have been able to do. I don't know. But then again, who would have expected him to win that last fight? Well, I mean, I guess you could expect us as the reader, but like, again, I expected him to have to work harder and train before he was able to do stuff like this, like defeat the enemy in the last chapter or slice through the teacup, because that seems like something that seems like a technique you wouldn't be able to do after just becoming a samurai. It seems more like something that would take years of, you know, refining your swing and controlling the blade, and that's something like you would need a certain level of control and elegance in order to be able to execute. But no, for him it's just swoop. And I wonder how much of his technique has to do with the fact that he was a shut-in who played that samurai video game all the time, especially because like it was like a VR game, and I don't think he was that active while playing it. Maybe or maybe not, I don't know, because it seems like you have to wear all this gear to play it and stuff, so I don't know how physically engaging that game was, but I'm wondering how much that game has to do with the techniques and abilities that he has now that he's a samurai and can actually make use of them. And oh, wait a minute, that might actually be something to that because of what, yeah, hold up. Okay, so we're gonna get into that. So anyway, Hachimaru takes his sword, gets on Hayataro, because apparently Hayataro can fly now. Still meows though, and they go for a walk. But as they're on this walk, there's apparently 3 pigs in a tank that are about to wreak some havoc on the village, stir up some mischief. Who knows what they're about to get into? But they're actually like patting each other on the back and like, yeah, let's fire off a celebratory cannonball. And this cannon blast that they shoot into the sky actually ends up hitting Hachimaru and Hayataro, which I don't think the pigs even were aware that they were up there. I don't think this was intended. It just was like random shot in the sky, and then Hachimaru got hit. Then this causes Hachimaru to come crashing through somebody's roof, and thus we get introduced to a brand new character. As it turns out, Hachimaru and Hayataro end up separated, and the roof that Hachimaru crashed through ended up being the roof of a samurai dojo. And this character that he meets seemingly resides there, but hasn't even trained a single day in his life, let alone become a samurai. He's apparently a shut-in, not too different from what Hachimaru was just last chapter, like just yesterday in terms of the story's timeline. Except it seems that the only difference is that this character's shut-inness, his hermitness, or however you want to describe that, is by choice more so than Hachimaru's was. Off the bat, this character, who we later find out is named Nanashi, seems really weird because I wasn't sure in the beginning if he was talking to himself or talking to his hands, or like if his hands were like sentient. Like I didn't know if his hands themselves or maybe the gear that he had on his hands, because he was playing this VR samurai game, were capable of speech. As it turns out, he's just a lunatic and he was talking to himself because he has no friends, so he's so lonely that he's given identities to his left and right hands, where his right hand is Mr. Right and his left hand is Miss Left. But yeah. So they introduce themselves, and this is how we find out that Nanashi's name is Nanashi and that Hachimaru has crash landed in a dojo. He's like, oh, this is a dojo? That's cool. My name's Hachimaru. I'm a samurai. What about you? Are you a samurai? And turns out that Nanashi wants to be a samurai, but is basically too pathetic to become one. So pathetic, in fact, that he can't even tell Hachimaru this himself. I mean, he does, but he uses his hands to do it by like covering his face and having his hand talk for him, even though it's still... Nanashi's weird, bro. Nanashi's weird. And it turns out that Nanashi, being as pathetic as he is the reason why he's named Nanashi, because Nanashi essentially means nameless. Like he's nobody, he's no one, he's for all intents and purposes he doesn't exist, or he's invisible to the rest of the world. But what's also interesting to note is that Nana can also mean 7. So I'm wondering what the what the play is there, because Hachi is 8, Hachimaru, Samurai 8, and then you have Nanashi. Nana can mean 7, so they're probably gonna end up being allies and friends and travel together moving forward. So we'll see how that goes. Like I'm sure Nanashi will become a samurai at some point, or will lend his aid to Hachimaru in some form or fashion. But yeah, I'm wondering if there's any correlation there between Hachimaru being named Hachi 8 and Nanashi being named Nanashi 7. You know what I mean? So we'll see where that goes. So Hachimaru, in typical shonen MC fashion, is like, yo, why don't you go outside? Why don't you come with me? Let's go on an adventure. Yada yada yada. Be my best friend. You know what I'm saying? And Nanashi's like, you have no idea. You don't know anything about me. You get to travel all over. I can't even go outside. And Hachimaru's like, let me make a deal with you. I see you think you're pretty nice at this video game, because apparently the same video game that Hachimaru was playing before, Nanashi is ranked number 2 in the world. Little does he know who's ranked number 1. But anyway, so yeah, Hachimaru's like, yo, you think you're pretty nice at this game, so let's make a deal, right? If I beat you in this game, you come with me. If you win, I'll leave you alone. And Nanashi's like, you're not gonna win. Like I'm too nice with it. Like you're just not gonna win. It's pointless because you're gonna lose. Like you might as well quit now. Like you ain't got no chance. And Hachimaru's like, nah, bro. I think I know a little something, you know what I'm saying? And so they proceed to play the game and throw them hands. It was alluded to earlier in the chapter when we first see Nanashi playing the game. He's like, the number 1 ranked player is not online today, even though he's normally online like every day. And immediately right there and there, I'm like, oh, number 1 ranked player must be Hachimaru. Like, I don't think it was stated he was number 1 in the last chapter. If it was, I missed it. But as soon as he was like, oh, the number 1 ranked player is not online today, I was like, number 1 ranked player is going to be Hachimaru, isn't it? And then when Hachimaru challenges to the game, I'm like, he's definitely the number 1 ranked player. He's definitely about to wax Nanashi, and that's how this whole thing's going to go. And then sure enough, as soon as the fight starts, Hachimaru does some crazy technique. He's like, what? Like a step cancel into so-and-so, whatever, throwing out some FGC lingo or whatever. And he's like, wait, I knew it. You're Hachimaru. And then yeah, Hachimaru like waxes him free. It was pretty free. So Hachimaru collects that dub, you know what I'm saying? He's like, I bet I win. Now you got to come with me. Let's go outside. Let's go make some friends. We're about to go on an adventure together. And so, like I said, obviously Nanashi's going to be like his new best friend, and they're going to have all these different adventures and fights together, and it's going to be great. And I'm really interested in Nanashi's character development, because I would imagine that his transformation is not going to be as instant or as rapid as Hachimaru's was. Like Hachimaru, like he wanted to do all this from the start, but Nanashi seems a lot more timid, a lot less confident than Hachimaru was. So it'll be curious to see how he develops and grows as a character. But also we get, because like there's that part where he snaps at Hachimaru, right, where he's drawn completely different. Like his hair is out of his face, his eyes are like filled with rage, and he's just like, you don't know anything about me, you have no idea what it's like, it's making friends is that easy. And he like he's almost a completely different person in that one panel. And so I'm wondering if we're gonna see more of that. Like maybe he's the type of character that like he's usually like very timid and very meek and like doesn't really like confrontation, but like you mess with his friends or you say something that he just really strongly against, he snaps and he just goes Gohan on you. He tapped that ass. And this is pretty much where the chapter wraps up. Hachimaru goes on to say like, yeah, today's actually my first day, you know, out experiencing the world, and I may have gotten separated from my dog and came crashing through your roof, but something really incredible happened today. And Nanashi is like, well, what is that? And Hachimaru says the most typical thing you could have expected him to say, and he's like, I met you. I made a friend today. And it's just like, oh, Bible sometimes too. Hachimaru and Nanashi proceed to walk outside together, and then Nanashi's like shielding his eyes from the sun because he probably hasn't seen sunlight in like 6 years or something crazy like that. And then Hayataro shows back up and Hachimaru's like, oh, Hayataro, you found me, yay, we're together again. And then the chapter ends off with us seeing like those 3 pigs from earlier pull up to the village or whatever, getting ready to fuck up everybody's commas, apparently. So yeah, we might get to see Nanashi in action next chapter. I don't know if he has any skills at all, but remember what I mentioned earlier about how I wonder how much influence that video game that Hachimaru played has on his ability as a samurai. I wonder if the same could hold true for Nanashi, because what if both Hachimaru and Nanashi end up being skilled samurai and know a bunch of advanced techniques and stuff because they were the #1 and #2 ranked players in that video game? Were they actually able to acquire techniques from this video game, and are they going to be able to implement them like in real life? And obviously it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, like just because I play fighters or Tekken or Mortal Kombat, or just because I play fighting game all day long doesn't mean I can do those techniques in real life. But this is a manga, right? So like anything's possible. Like we have a dog that meows like a cat and can fly through the air. So I mean, it's not too far-fetched to say that they actually end up becoming really skilled and more advanced than they should be because of everything they learned by playing this video game. Like that'd be believable for me. I don't know about you guys, but I could see that being the case, and if so, it'd actually be pretty cool, and it would explain why Hachimaru was able to do something like slice through the teacup already, like why his sword swing is already so elegant, and maybe they're gonna be able to do stuff like that step cancel into option select thing that Hachimaru did in the video game in his fight against Nanashi. Maybe he's able to do something like that in real life. Now, it doesn't necessarily make sense that those abilities and techniques translate to real life, because like just because you might know how to execute it doesn't mean that your body should be able to do it because you haven't actually practiced it. But I don't know. We'll see where that goes. There might be something to that. There might not be. I just think it would be cool though if that's the explanation behind why they're able to do certain things, is because they were the 2 best players in the world at this game, and it's a samurai game, so it helped them with their samurai abilities. I would also like to note that some of my concern has been set aside. My mind's been put more at ease with this chapter when it comes to some of the things I had an issue with in chapter 1, mainly being how cramped and how cluttered I felt the chapter felt. Because you guys know in chapter 1 I said it felt like there wasn't really a whole lot of room to breathe. It was very overwhelming, both in terms of the story and the artwork, and I felt like with chapter 2 it was much better paced, things were much better spread out. I feel like now that I also would like to note that I don't feel like the paneling is that dynamic, which isn't a big deal to a lot of people, but to me it's just something I have to take note of as an admirer of the artwork in these stories. But not super dynamic with the paneling, it's pretty just boxy, but we'll see what happens in chapter 3 when it's a little more action packed. But definitely in terms of like just the amount of detail and drawings like in the panels, I feel like Okubo did a much better job in this chapter. I also felt like Kishimoto didn't overwhelm us with the amount of dialogue and the amount of text and the amount of information that was thrown at us. So I think they found a good balance, and they probably will continue to keep it up moving forward, so that I'm very happy to see that as well. Still not perfect, but a lot better. A lot better. Well, that is going to wrap up my thoughts for chapter 2 of Samurai 8. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. What did you think of the chapter? What are your hopes and dreams for this series moving forward? If you have any theories already, or anything that you want to discuss or talk about, feel free to leave it in the comments down below. I would love to talk about this series with you guys, even though we don't have a whole lot to go off of yet. But yeah, just anything related to the series you want to discuss, feel free to drop in the comments down below. Hit this video with a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you haven't already so you can stay tuned for all else content I plan on bringing you. And with all that being said, it's pretty much all for today. And remember, nothing can happen to you swing the bat. Later.